The Celtics Talk podcast is presented by 24autogroup.com, 11 locations across New England.
What's up, everybody? Post-game pod, and well, it's about humbug because the Celtics fall 118-114 to the Philadelphia 76ers inside TD Garden. I believe this is the Celtics' fifth home loss of the year after being so crisp at home last season. Celtics lose consecutive games for the first time this season. First time they've lost consecutive games since, I think, April. So we could play around with it and say first time in 8 months, even though there's an off season and all that. Still pretty impressive, like how long it's been since something like this has occurred. And yet, ultimately, the Celtics do not play well enough in this one to find a way to sneak out with a victory. And so it was interesting listening to some of the players in the locker room. You'll hear Jaylen Brown talk about it in this podcast. But just Celtics have really struggled to find consistency this year with the way they've played, and they've had moments of brilliance. The one my mind always goes to is that first game back for Kristaps Porzingis against the Clippers, and they have pretty much, Al Horford didn't play that game, I think, but they had their full complement otherwise, and you saw shades of what made them a championship level team. And they're 15-3 at that point, and kind of steamrolling. And even though they're kind of chasing the Cavs, they had beaten the Cavs, who were undefeated at that point, and just felt like the Celtics were clear cut the championship favorite. And well, now they're 3-4 in their last 7. They haven't looked nearly as crisp even in the wins. These last 2 games, they got kind of bullied by a severely undermanned Orlando team. And then you come home here and you watch Tyrese Maxey go off on it. So I'm left pulling at the threads of why they've sort of hit this bump in the road. And, you can put it on a million different things. It could be everybody's coming with their best shot for the Celtics. And, that's been pretty consistent throughout the season. And even when they were winning games, it was clear teams were motivated to go up against the champions. A team like Philly, who's had a rough start to the year, but has all 3 of its big 3 in the starting lineup tonight. They needed to sort of turn the page and start playing better basketball. And so they're a little bit of a desperate team coming in on this one. But the Celtics just can't find the energy over the course of 4 quarters. They play a dominant third quarter. I think they held the Sixers to 16 points in that frame, erased a double-digit lead and took their own advantage into the fourth quarter or before the fourth quarter, and just couldn't keep their foot on the gas. In fact, it's Maxey and co just kind of racing away from them. So some of it could come down to availability. Kristaps Porzingis turns an ankle here in the first opening minutes of this game. And eventually checks out and is ruled out for a return. This is, I think, the 3rd little bump in the road since coming back from off-season surgery. Twice he sprained an ankle. Once he came back, I think, from that sprained ankle. The first left ankle turn he came back. It's on the same side as the surgery was on today. So something to monitor going forward. Also had the right heel pain. But, you think about Sam Hauser being out of the lineup for much of the start of the year with the back issues. Drew Holiday doesn't play in this game, which certainly factored into trying to defend Tyrese Maxey. I don't want this to come off as excuses why they're not playing well. One of the hallmarks of last year's team was, and you might even, I think Jaylen or maybe it's Al Horford said post game that they're dealing with more injuries than they did a year ago. And my mind says, well, Porzingis missed a good stretch. Cornette went out when Nemi had to first step up and kind of made the play. So the Celtics have always sort of been able to weather it regardless of who's available, in part because of their depth. And on this night, on Christmas Day, it sort of flips. It's the Sixers leaning into their depth, where Gershon Yabusele, old friend, scores as much as Boston's entire bench. You can't have... I am chief among the Gershon Yabusele fans. I was hoping that the Sixers would completely bottom out so that the Celtics could potentially make a call about him. Instead... he's part of the reason why they're sort of a frisky team, because if that top 3 plays well, and on this night it was like Maxey, Caleb Martin, and Gershon Yabusele who sort of keyed your victory. And the Celtics got a rough night from Peyton Pritchard, which is a bit of an outlier this year, but big stage, and Peyton missed a chance to really cement his case for 6th man. Sam Hauser just hasn't been able to get it going, not only just shot-wise, but not even getting shots. Just doesn't look himself. They went at him a little bit on the defensive end early in that fourth quarter with Maxey kind of taking advantage of him on a couple plays. And so Celtics just not at the level they were a year ago, which I think is weird because I thought coming into the season that their biggest advantage over the field would be that they'd had that continuity, that consistency. And again, there's a million different reasons for hitting some bumps in the road here, but nothing that I feel like should be contributing to as jagged as at least this last 7 games has been. And I go back to it, like you got to step back and say, team's still in a pretty good position here. And yet the Cavs have opened a little bit of a gap at the top of the conference. It does feel like some teams are starting to turn a little bit of a corner and play better basketball, and the Celtics have sort of, for whatever reason, hit a little downturn. And so got to figure out how to dust yourself off. Got to figure out how to play better when you don't have the full complement of players available. Got to find out how they can lock in for longer stretches. It feels like they've put themselves, especially the last 2 games, in a position where they've had to play perfect at the finish line. And one little miscue can do you in. On this night, it's Tyrese Maxey. The Sixers had 1.1 on the shot clock coming off a sideline out of bounds and somehow managed to get essentially a Maxey layup. And now Maxey had to, he had to reach and stretch and get it in, but it was a sequence where the Celtics can't allow that shot with a low clock. And yet there's just these little miscues. And so I remember Joe Mazzulla said in the postgame, just a little bit too many inconsistencies right now. And not that you didn't expect this along the way. It's undeniable over the course of 82 games. There's going to be ebbs and flows. It's just I think we got so spoiled with the way this team has avoided the losing streaks, the way that they've consistently bounced back. Even coming into tonight, 6-0 on the second night after a loss, and with like a plus 18.7 point differential. And, well, now this is the first time they fall. And they still made their threes tonight. They still played good in stretches. Tatum quietly got to like 32 points. Jaylen Brown had a solid night too. And yet, too many miscues. Not enough forced turnovers, too many giveaways. It's all in the details. The reason the Celtics were a dominant champion a year ago was the way that they were obsessed with the details and won the shot margin and won the margins. They're not doing that this year. So they've got to kind of take a look in the mirror, figure out why it hasn't been as much of a consistent product, and turn the page. More importantly, I only get to bust out, if you're watching on the YouTube version, you're seeing this great women's size 8 holiday blazer that has become a staple of my wardrobe this time of year. And I only break it out once on Christmas Day, and unfortunately, it's like batting 500 over the last few years because the Celtics have not consistently brought it on Christmas Day. So on an otherwise magical day, we're left with a bitter taste because the Celtics can't get to the finish line of this win. Here's more from our postgame show.
Gear up for more in the year of 24 at the award-winning 24 Auto Group. This is our year, and we want to celebrate it with you. That's why we've got sales and service specials, giveaway contests and prizes, and fun family events happening all year long. So tune in every 24th of the month for the latest year of 24 news and offers. With 10 convenient locations across Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and 8 top brands, we have the knack to save you more in the year of 24. Visit us in-store or online at 24autogroup.com.
The defensive intensity, minus what we saw at the end of the game, like obviously they were scrambling around, causing turnovers. Minus that, the defensive intensity, not there for us.
Why?
I don't know if it's because, first of all, like I don't know how it looked on TV for you guys when we were down in Orlando. And I know that they were missing their top guys, but those were body shots.
Yeah.
That was very similar to the Minnesota game we had here last year, and then we went to Milwaukee and got smoked. I'm not making excuses, but that Orlando game was pretty physical. Then they came into this game, and they just didn't have any. You can blame it on the Christmas Day game, a lot of stuff, maybe, whatever you want to say, but we did not have that energy that we need to play with where teams are circling this on their schedule. Tell me the live ball steals. You said 3, right?
3 for the Celtics.
3 live ball steals. That's not us, right? And we only forced 6 turnovers. That's not us either. And if we're going to play defense like that, then you got to shoot the hell out of the ball. And by the way, they shot it really well today. So I look at it, all defense, all activity, all energy wasn't there for 48 minutes.
Eddie?
I look at Tyrese Maxey.
Tyrese Maxey was like, man, I'm about to be that dude. You know what I mean? This is my team. Like, these are the levels and the steps. You know what I mean? I remember walking down the tunnel playing with Rondo when we was at the Celtics, going against Chris Paul at the time, Steve Nash at the time, whoever it was, Darren Williams at the time. He was on another level. And that's the same way, that level of focus, intensity from not only one particular player, because that was a one-on-one matchup that he was going up against, you know, where that he was like, man, I'm trying to make my bones here. I feel like I'm the best point guard. This is a team, right? So not only does he have that one-on-one matchup, but it's also team versus team. Like, they're supposed to be the champions. We're coming in here on a different level, and you have to match that energy. And if you don't match that energy, it's kind of hard to cut anybody's water off. All these guys are pros out here.
Yeah, and I get it that they're getting the best shot from everybody. Desperate teams every time. It seems like we play. The Sixers sort of needed this to feel good about themselves. And yet, it's the lulls for me that are just maddening. The Celtics play a great third quarter, kind of chip away that lead, take a lead into the fourth frame, and yet they can't sustain it. And actually watch the Sixers rip it open there with that 18-4 run to start the fourth quarter. That's unacceptable. I don't understand how they just have those peaks and valleys. Like, they just need to be more consistent in those minutes. Don't just totally get run off the court for a stretch, and then you're going to win this game. Instead, they put themselves in a tough spot.
And let me just add something to that, which is a little bit strange. We've done this before. You know, we've seen Tatum and Brown play the whole first quarter. That didn't end well. To start that fourth quarter, after playing the entire third, they came back and they started the fourth. So I don't understand why he would do that.
We thought that was at the point where maybe you lean on Tatum early, you go back to Brown. I don't know. It's again like maybe it's just caught up in the magnitude of the day and trying to, like, those guys were rolling in the third quarter, but it was apparent at the start of the fourth they didn't have the same zip, the same energy they had throughout that third quarter. Maybe some of it was, you know, coming off a physical game, they just didn't have it. Yeah, I didn't love that the way they started that in any regard in the fourth quarter.
Well, it could also be that they were shorthanded at that point. You planned on having Kristaps Porzingis. He obviously didn't come out for the second half. Dealing with the left ankle.
We had more than enough to beat that team.
Okay.
It's like we have guys on that team like Hauser and Pritchard and those guys. Like, that's why we're good, because those guys have saved us at times throughout this year. And like on a night like tonight, when you are Peyton Pritchard or Sam Hauser and you are shorthanded, you know, we're so used to Peyton Pritchard delivering. Right. He's getting 20, you know, and then tonight's a night where we expect Peyton Pritchard to give you 13, 15, 18 points, but it's
or at least 2 threes.
Or, yeah, for my same game parlay. I mean, besides that, but it's just, it was weird how we were just reliant on Tatum and Brown. When, you know, I get it with Tatum because he didn't play in the Orlando game, but man, like for me, like our role players are special. That's why I think they're really good. And for them not to deliver and get outplayed by these guys, that was disappointing.
Joe said he feels like you guys are playing inconsistent basketball over this stretch. Have you seen that? If so, what's kind of the root of it, and what's the way out of it?
We got to just take a look at it. It feels that way, but it always feels a little bit worse than what it actually is. We had some different guys in the lineup and stuff like that, so I feel like we haven't had as much continuity as we would like when we've been out there. So I guess we take a look at it, and it's a moment where we can improve as a team.
What changed for you in the second half today?
Just the rhythm of the game was a little bit different than the first half. We had a bad start to the game. It was just slower. Had some ill-advised turnovers, stepped out of bounds, off the jump ball. It kind of slowed us down a little bit, but second half was able to, you know, be more aggressive, get out, find spacing, and play basketball.
Yeah, any idea what led to that slow start?
I just think we just came out too casual. I just think we was walking to our spots. Nobody was sprinting down the floor, just kind of hanging around, just trying to veer back to get the ball instead of just pushing it down the court and just being aggressive. I feel like we just started off the game just slow, and they took advantage of that.
Jaylen, defensively, when Max is going and then Martin's going, like, how can you, as a team, get better and kind of limit some of those stretches where guys are getting you?
That was the game plan, so we just stick to the game plan. We trusted the game plan. I think Martin hit, 6 threes tonight, 7 threes. And that's tough. And he's done that before to us in the past, but, going into it, we felt comfortable with letting him take all them shots, and he just knocked them down tonight.
Jaylen, you hit that three that cut it to 2 at the very end. Just what was going through your mind when you hit that?
What was going through my mind? Just playing the game all the way through. Obviously, this game was not a great game. Wasn't my best game, but just trying to do whatever it took to help our team get a win and get us closer. I thought we were crawling back defensively. It looked like we were out of it. We were down 15. Me and Peyton was able to, pick the ball up full court, create some turnovers, and we was able to get within a 1-possession game. So I think those were some good moments that we had. We just didn't put together a good 48. Not fully sure why. It felt kind of weird, but I guess we'll look at it and we'll break it down and go from there.
Jaylen, is it tougher? Is it tougher this season, having been through and you won the championship and everything? Is it tougher this season to kind of get as motivated as you need to be for some of these regular season games?
No, I think it's about the same. It's just it's a new year. It's not the same, and we got to go out and earn it. But the motivation is there. For me personally, just getting up and just going to play basketball is a blessing. But as a group, we got to be better.
We got to take some ownership. We got to be better. We got to acknowledge the things that we've done not so great. We got to look in the mirror and man up, and we just got to be better. We fully believe in ourselves, the things that we can do when we're fully locked in, and we've done it time and time again. We just had some lapses recently. We just got to get back on track.
Are you sensing, you didn't play the other night in Orlando, but they played a bunch of young guys and they came at you, and then Philadelphia's 10-17, and they still came. Teams are coming at you expectedly, but they don't seem to fear you. Are you seeing that teams are just, getting up, but just they're coming at you, they're playing their best? Are you sensing something different this year?
No, I feel like been in 3 straight conference finals, 2 finals appearances in the last 3 years. We've been getting everybody's best shot over the last few years, so it's not something that should catch us off guard or anything like that. It should be something that's expected.
Jayson, Philly had 3 30-plus point quarters, but then you guys held them to 16 in the third quarter. Joe talked about sort of inconsistencies on defense. What did you see different in that quarter, and then why wasn't it the same way in the other 3?
Yeah, we had an amazing third quarter, and I think we played well the last 6 minutes of the fourth. I think just that start of the fourth quarter really, we struggled on both ends of the floor. I just keep saying we gotta get back to ourselves, our identity. We haven't shown that the last few games or so, and we just gotta lock back in.
That end of the third to the start of the fourth, did you notice anything change in terms of your guys' execution, the focus? What went wrong in your mind that allowed it to devolve like that in the fourth?
I think they were just too comfortable. You saw in the last 6 minutes or whatever, we picked up the intensity, the ball pressure, knocking guys off their spot. And, before that, they were just a little bit comfortable.
Last season, you said at one point when you guys had dropped a few games that sometimes you just have a bad week at work. Does this kind of feel like that, or do you feel like this has been a little bit longer than just a couple of games, or maybe it's a bigger picture kind of thing that you guys are working through?
It's things that we got to address. We got to be better. It's still a long season. Nobody's panicking. You just have to be able to navigate the emotional roller coaster of an NBA season. It feels a lot worse than it actually is. We're not panicking or anything. We got to man up and look in the mirror and figure out some things that we got to do better at. Everybody's fully capable, and we've always done a really good job of responding. And I have no doubt that we will. So not panicking, but, just we got to be better, and we will.
All right, up next, Celtics are closing out the year at home. 4-game homestand. This little bump in the road against Philly. Now it'll be a double dip with the Indiana Pacers starting on Friday night at TD Garden, a team that's already beat you once this season. These little home and homes have a little extra playoff feel to them, that it's tough to beat a team twice in a row. What's a little bit interesting is Indy's coming in. They have to play Oklahoma City on Thursday night, so they'll be playing a back-to-back. That's a team that, regardless of the situation, tends to bring the intensity and the speed. Celtics have to be ready for that. They haven't always responded well, whether it's Maxi's speed or just the pace that the Magic played at the other night. Celtics have to be ready for that. These games tend to be physical. We don't need to rewind too far to remember that this is a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals. It's been a little bit of an up-and-down start for the 15-15 Pacers, but they've won 5 in a row. That includes, when they were out west, they beat Golden State, they beat Phoenix. So they've had some nice little wins in this stretch. We'll see what happens against Oklahoma City, but they could come in with a whole lot of momentum here, feeling good about themselves. And the Celtics have got to kind of figure out how to get back up on that level and get everything clicking again. And I'll say it one more time, just regardless of who's out there, whether Kristaps Porzingis is back in that lineup, hopefully Drew Holiday is back after that absence. Celtics need to erase the bitter taste of this little 2-game losing streak and get back on the winning track. They finish out that 4-game homestand on New Year's Eve with a matinee against Toronto, and then they head out on the road. Just go look at that January schedule. It's going to be January's a bear. You got to go out west. You got to play, all the top teams in the West over 2 different trips, and so the Celtics have got to turn it up a little bit. We'll be here with you for all of it. Most importantly, Merry Christmas, y'all. Always a little reflective at this time of year, and as we probably get into our final episodes of the 2024 calendar year especially, can't help but think back to all the amazingness of the 2024 calendar year, the winning a championship, even the start to this season. I am very appreciative for those of you that take a little time out of your day to listen to this pod, to interact with us, to watch our shows, to basically keep me employed. I appreciate you all and the kind words you deliver. And even if you go and tell your family otherwise that, hey, look at this moron in a plaid coat spewing nonsense, that's perfectly fine. I appreciate you all hanging out. And, like I said, a little perspective. Faithful listeners know I tend to lose my mind a little bit after losses. Not going to go off the deep end on this one, but I do think the Celtics need to turn it up a little bit. Just haven't played to their fullest potential. We'll see what the rest of 2024 and especially 2025 has to bring. Thank you all again. Merry Christmas. We'll catch you Friday night on the Celtics Talk podcast.